All right, welcome back. We are looking at chapters 5 and 6 of Seminar 3. It's tough to know where to start here, but first things to note right out of the gate is that what Lacan is up to in these initial chapters of the seminar is he's trying to distinguish between neurosis and psychosis. He wants to show very clearly how there is a primitive difference between these two clinical structures. And that primitive difference comes down to what they do with the symbolic, or in the case of the psychotic, what they don't do with it. We're going to try and figure this out, if not in this round of lectures, then in upcoming as well, because this is a key move here. Let's start first with the basic stake that he's working out here. You can see it at the bottom of page 62. In the paragraph that begins, anyone who is following the path I am gradually leading you down, check this out, by drawing your attention to a mechanism that is distinct from Verneinung, which means negation, and that can be constantly seen emerging in Freud's discourse, will find here, once again, the need to, here's the key point, distinguish between something that has been symbolized and something that hasn't. Neurosis, the neurotic, which is the normal person, and I don't say normal to suggest good, I say normal to mean typical. Typically, there is something that has been symbolized for the neurotic that in the case of the psychotic hasn't. That's the distinction that we're working with here. Something happens in neurosis. Something is subject to the symbolic, to symbolization. Something is symbolized, typically. When that doesn't happen, you have a recipe for psychosis. What that is what we're trying to figure out here. In order to make some moves here, I believe the next step should be to blast forward into chapter 6 and see if we can wrap our head a little bit around neurosis. So let's start with a restatement of what's happening here. On page 82, middle of the page, Lacan says, in the beginning. And that's really where we're looking here. In the beginning of these clinical structures. In the beginning, then, there is either Bejahung, which is the affirmation of what is, or Verwerfung, which is not. Now, Bejahung is interesting. It's like a primitive symbolization. It's where something, some entity has been represented in the symbolic. Now, do we really know what that means? Let's work on it, because in order to understand what Verwerfung means, refusal, foreclosure, we have to understand what it does, which is it is not Bejahung. It prevents a primitive symbolization. It is not the affirmation of what is, but a denial of it, and it is occurring at the beginning. There's something primitive happening here. So we'll start there with Bejahung next.